It was the middle of winter, and the town was all dark. The streets were all empty, and so was the park. The sun would lie in and was getting up late, with no signs of daylight till way after 8. By 4 in the afternoon the sun had gone down, leaving nothing but dark all over the town. All the people were hiding with nothing to do but play on their phones and watch TV too. It was empty and boring, with no sense of hope, until 2 friends decided they could no longer cope. And they hatched a grand plan to bring folks back together with happiness and lights, whatever the weather. The one was named Chicken. She was artistic and kind. Her sheep friend was Shasta, and both were inclined to write a fun poem and then print it all out, and then cut it all up so they could hand it about. Each person would be given just one of the lines, so they'd have to all gather to put together the rhyme. But how would they deliver their lines around town? They thought and they pondered, then they wrote it all down. Their plan was to wait until the middle of night, then they'd deliver their lines with nobody in sight. But what if they were spotted and it ruined the surprise? They'd have to go out in some sort of disguise. So Chicken found an old coat, all baggy and red, and she wrapped a wool scarf tight up round her head. Shasta was in charge of lighting their way, so she held tight to a flashlight so that its rays guided them around town, and off the friends roamed to deliver the first line at the very first home. But the front door was locked and the windows were closed. How could they get in? Then Shasta proposed that Chicken was quite small and just the right size to climb up to the roof, and in her disguise she'd go down the chimneys and slide her way down and leave one line of poetry on each table in town. So that's what they did, and it took them all night. By the time they were done, it was almost daylight. When the town folks woke up, what did they find? A line from a poem the friends left behind. The people all wondered, what could this line mean? And they all left their houses to discover a scene where the whole town was standing out in the road, holding pieces of a riddle they had to decode. They each read their lines, and a bright little child said, "They're lines from a poem," and everyone smiled. They all changed places and reread their lines, and the whole poem was read out for the very first time. Then the people all cheered and felt full of joy, and brought out to the street some food and some toys. They picnicked and parted and played the whole day. And when night finally fell, they stayed out anyway. And that's my short story of how 2 bestest friends brought the darkness of winter to a very abrupt end. Ever since that day, people remember the time of when they all got together to read out this rhyme.